Well, hello everyone and welcome to a very new video in this very serious what makes a good Today's question is what makes a good bike rack? What makes a good public bike lock for your bicycle to be locked in the city, not at your home? We're always talking about urban public space. And I will talk about bike racks within the following three categories. That is location, where should bike racks even be or be standing or be mounted to. Then practicability, as in like including design, form, safety, but I think practicability is the word that captures these things the best. And also I have a category that I named additional features, additional things one could add to a bike rack to make it more useful. Generally, of course, with bike racks, it's the same like with other urban furniture. You need to bring it where the people are. Now, with bike racks in particular, on one hand, you have bike racks that are put in front of buildings where you can lock your bike, not in front of every building and not everywhere, of course. And on the other hand, you have something like street lights, fences, places where people lock their bikes anyway. And I don't think one is necessarily better than the others, but of course I do know that there's a lot of complaints about people locking their bikes basically everywhere. And you know, if it's a city like Copenhagen or Amsterdam, such things can become a real issue because, you know, if for example a person with a disability cannot use a handrail because there are bike locks, that's a problem. If they're in the way of a stream or flow of people, that's a problem. Now, this first picture here shows exactly what I was talking about, a bike rack locked on a fence, on a walkway down to the beach. I think that's beautiful. The opportunity to lock your bike, regardless of a bike rack, makes wanting to use the bike, which I guess is something like the overarching idea, so much more fun and great if you know that you can lock your bike anywhere without facing, you know, some verbal punishment from nearby residents. So yeah, I think that is great. And if you do then plan such, public handrails or fences or whatnot, maybe keep that in mind, that bicycles might be locked there, or else how would you even stop it and why? Bicycles versus cars is kind of the biggest, oldest duality or fight in public space. So anything that can be done for bicycles is of course very, very great. On the second picture here we see a bike rack behind a public transport stop. Trams, buses, metros, this is where you want to bring bike racks. This is where you want people to lock their bikes. And of course, let me just say this in a side sentence, just having bike racks in and by itself is pointless if you don't have bike paths. Of course, I'm talking about the existence of a whole bike infrastructure, and bike racks, places to put your bike when you go to work, when you go to do whatever you want, is of course very, very important. So you really need bike racks absolutely everywhere where there are people, and people are everywhere. But think about biggest malls, shops, public transport stops, at the beach, entertainment activities in front of event venues, stadiums, cemeteries. Everything needs bike racks or a fence that could otherwise be used as a bike rack, one or the other. If you don't have space for a bike rack, you can just use a fence where people can also lock their bikes. Now, practicability is probably the biggest of all categories here. I have found myself fiddling with bike racks a lot of the time, especially when they're over-designed. This here on the first picture is such an example. Maybe it looks quite simple, but somehow it's not so clear how it's used. Are you supposed to put your bike through or on the side? And if there is the chance of putting it on the side, maybe one person will, and then all the other spots are blocked. So I feel like bike racks is such a thing that where people get really to live out their creativity for absolutely no reason, because there's no need to build any other bike rack than the very simple arch, let's say. And of course, with such things like here on this picture, it depends what kind of a lock you have. If you have a tight, kryptonite lock made out of steel, you're gonna be struggling, I think. And whoever thinks this is a great idea should be punished, I think also. This is what I was talking about. For me, this is the perfect bike rack. It's simple. You can basically put it anywhere. You can have as many as you want. You can put them as tight or far away as you like. Of course, bikes should still fit next to one another. But why change this? Why make anything more complicated out of more material than this one? So don't build a bike rack where people need a certain lock to lock it there, or have lots of issues to lock it there, where you have to bend down, fiddle something through, and then there are 10 other bicycles and one person wants to get the bike out, and yeah. Also here, kind of relates back to location, but here it seems that they're kind of put on the side of the building, which is fine, but I tell you what, if you are allowed to put a car in front of the building, don't put your bikes on the side. And of course, let me just say this in one side sentence. I know that, I guess in cities like London or Paris, if you have a bike of any value, to lock this outside these days is, there's always a risk, because people do cut heavy logs through with chainsaws or, some other electrical tools. Yeah, it's just really strange what the world has become anyways. But yeah, this one is exactly such example where if you have a thick tire, it will not fit in here, so you have to kind of balance it on one of these bends there, and it might fall over, so you need a stand. But who has a thick tire and a stand? And anyway, fiddling a lock through here, good luck. That's not any fun and very not encouraging. And I really don't know what people are thinking. Like, who builds these things? Who comes up with these things? It's miraculous. But yeah, practicability, form, function. I don't think even this looks nice. It doesn't look clean. It looks very complicated, unnecessarily complicated. Maybe for a small children's bicycle, this is fun to use. I have no idea. People think that with bike racks, there's more room for creativity, but I think really not to. Then rather get creative with some of the other topics I've discussed, like bins or street lights. And this last feature I want to talk about is additional things to add to a bike rack to make it more usable. Now this is more of a symbolic addition. I'm sure you have all seen or noticed somewhere in your city that there's this particular type of bike rack design that, I guess serves as a protection, but also shows you how many bicycles you can fit for one car. Just like, these images of like one full city bus and how many cars it needs to have the same amount of people and how many more space that needs. I think the idea is similar here. And I think it's nice. I like it. When I saw it the first time, I was like, oh wow, that's so smart, because you need to be that literal and that visible in the city to make a point, I think. There's no point putting a sign there. You could also take not your car, but your bicycle next time. No, this is good. And behind that very simple bike rack, there are these two bollards around it. I think this is almost perfect, It highlights that there are bike racks. It makes something out of it by putting this car there. I think that's really, really nice. If it's a good infrastructure and in front of a good place, let's say some kind of venue, the problem starts when you don't have enough bike racks or places to put your bike. And then it's not a cyclist's fault to lock it on a fence, because a cyclist is always right for coming with the bicycle. Of course, there are traffic rules, and I know also that cyclists are misbehaving in the city every day and are also annoying others. I know that. But if someone comes with the bicycle, do everything you can do to encourage this person to keep on coming with the bicycle. Another thing, of course, protect the bicycle from rain. Now, if you have grandfather's old bicycle, well, okay, it can get wet. It's anyway rusty and only has 100 more miles in it. But, such a rain protective or even sun protective cover. Now, here it's made out of glass for whatever reason. So if the sun is shining, it's probably hotter down there underneath it. But yeah, it would be nice to, provide something for the bicycle, because we are still in this time where we want people to take bicycles. And of course, there's no bike rack here on this particular picture, but anyway, bike repair stations not next to every bike rack, but next to some. And once you have that, you need to maintain that. Now, how often have I seen those things existing, but actually it's broken, the pump doesn't work, the screwdriver is flat and doesn't screw anymore, the flat driver is screw and doesn't flat anymore. Now, how many people that use bicycles can actually repair them themselves or change a tire? Well, hard to say, but maybe pump the air is good, and such things are great. So these are just some few additionals. So let's sum this all up. I think first of all, you need to put bike racks where there are people, and so that bicycles are not in the way, and ideally that the bike rack is connected to a bike path, so you don't have to cycle over a public square or over a busy sidewalk. You know, give bikes the space they deserve where they need it. Secondly, I think make it out of metal, make it simple. Don't overthink it. Try with, if you're not sure, try with different locks. If you're not sure, city government, I'm talking to you, try with different locks, try with different bicycles, with different heights of bicycles, and also see what happens if there are two bikes on the same bike rack. In what way are they hindering one another? Can a simple bike rack design be improved? Or is the classic arch probably already the best? Maybe the best is actually having a longer fence where you can really lock it absolutely anywhere. But anyway, make it simple, metal of course, and provide enough of them. Then thirdly, offer something additionally, make it nice with a roof for rain and sun protection, or a bike repair thing. Having all of these things would be great, but invest in your bike infrastructure. I feel like sometimes when you just have a bike rack, people think about it as some sort of necessity that we have to put it there. But make it an experience, make it nice, make people wanting to put their bikes there because it feels like there's a lot of additional features. And of course also lastly, unfortunately, you have to point more attention to make it safe. Maybe that means putting it in front of the public. Now, I've seen videos from London, people do steal bicycles in front of everybody else. But then maybe it means putting it in a separated bike shed or fence area. And I'm generally against that, but if it helps to keep it safer, maybe for some bigger bike stands in front of, for example, train stations, you can add an additional fence or room where people go inside and lock their bicycles. How do they get inside? Well, you see, it gets complicated right there and then. But yeah, think about safety. And I think that's all for bike racks. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you for the next video. Bye bye.